Hey guys, welcome back to Lunatic Astrology, and today Mars goes retrograde at roughly 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I want to talk a little bit about each sign and how that's going to play out somewhere in your life, but also I want to address some of the things that are going on with that Mars retrograde, probably for the collective, particularly around the back to school, not pandemic attempts to get back to normal. Mars retrograde is going to make a few changes there. First of all, before I go ahead and talk about Mars retrograde, which lasts, by the way, starting off in Aries right now at 28 degrees, Mars is stationed today on September the date 9th, and we'll go backwards until November the 14th. So keep that in mind. This is a long duration transit, retrograde through the sign of Aries, where Mars hasn't been for since 1988 through to July of 1989. That's the last time we've experienced this incredibly powerful Mars in his home sign event called Mars transiting through Aries. Now, one of the things I want to say before I go ahead is please like and subscribe, comment and hit the button and share and all that stuff. Help my channel out if you like it. That would be great. And in the description box below, you'll find out ways to reach me, get a reading with me. You'll find the timestamps as well for the signs ahead when I do the all signs portion of how this will influence you based on your sun sign, moon sign, or rising. I have a Mars special on, only 22 spots available, and I've already 6 or 7 or so of those are gone. And that's the Mars reading by me, pre-recorded for you, and it's only $65, and it's down by 40% just to celebrate the Mars retrograde. And I love talking about Mars in each person's chart because it's such a rare and special Mars this time to bring you action, power, drive, focus, will, between June 27th of 2020 to January of 2021. That's how long that transit takes. Mars in Aries in his power. Alrighty, let's go. Squeaky seat. Sorry, it's so squeaky on my bar stool. Let's start out. First of all, one of the things about Mars retrograde is that it can mean Mars is more like the inner warrior. I mean, there is in each of our lives a part of us that we don't want to go off to battle. It's not always the best thing to do, which is to direct conflict, combativeness, and fighting for something overtly. And when Mars goes retrograde, there's a chance to be more like James Bond, a little stealth warrior, a little sort of like, yes, fight for what you want, but don't be so overt. So you can look at it like the kind of David Carradine, the Zen Kung Fu master in the old Kung Fu show from the 70s or 60s. You can look at it like sort of James Bond, more of a stealth warrior. Just don't think that because Mars is retrograde, he's not strong and, useful. It's just that his temperament is completely different. So you can look at him more of a shadow boxer than an outright fighter. I also would say be careful for passive aggressive tendencies when Mars goes retrograde. It's to me a little bit like when people are born with Mars in their natal 12th house. Holy man, do I know a few of those people. They have a hard time, 12th house, part of the chart that's from other lives, but also hidden from them in this life. And they have such a hard time with anger, like direct overt expressions of aggression, will, solid knows boundaries, basta enough, that they end up being passive aggressive with their needs, getting their needs met. So Mars retrograde can sometimes behave that way as a shadow side of it. So be careful that you are not acting that way and being passively aggressive in your relationships with those around you. Now, also, Mars going backwards, like any planet, suddenly reversing its direction, but from our view on Earth, is no longer going according to script. It's breaking script. It's anti-scripting. It's going against the rules. So rebellion, riots are even going to be more increased. It's like the warrior isn't like rank and file, like breaking rank, breaking file, doing its own thing, iconoclast, rebellion, riots. So yes, protests, riots, rebellion, these are going to increase with Mars retrograde period between now and middle of November. The election is in that window for the United States of America, so I am expecting some serious protesting and upheaval over those months before, during, and after that election. Mars retrograde at last wants to pull back and retreat from something. Think about a soldier running on the battlefield and then suddenly realizing it's not a good direction to go and calling for all the troops to back up, retreat. Well, Where are we going to see retreat collectively? The schools, elementary, high school, colleges and universities, all of them. Jupiter rules them. Jupiter's in his fall right now. Jupiter also rules air travel and adventure and all of that, travel industry. And look what's happened to the travel industry since the pandemic. Now you add to this that we've got this, you know, retrograde, time for a retreat. So we thought travel might have been back on track, and it may not be. Why am I focusing on Jupiter's travel industry and education industry? Because Mars is going to square or angle in a disharmonious, conflictual relationship to Jupiter, who's in his fall in the sign of Capricorn, not doing so great, right? Santa Claus with half his reindeer. That's going to be October the 19th, where that square perfects. Now, we saw a bit of that square in August on the 4th. That was one of the times that Mars squared Jupiter in its movement, that in this case direct. But now Mars is going to go backwards, and in his retrograde motion on October 19th will form a square to Jupiter in his fall in Capricorn. So I definitely think we're going to see around that time, October 19th, give or take about 5 days on either side, a huge retrenchment around what the educational systems are doing regarding accommodating students going back to school during a time of a pandemic. We're probably going to see a reversing course, a lot of schools shutting down, a lot of schools declaring that they're going to go back online, etc., retreating from a direction that they'd headed in August on the 4th, as well when there was that direct motion of Mars approaching and connecting with Jupiter, like, yes, let's travel. Yes, let's get back to school, you know? All right. Anything else I'd say about that? You know, Jupiter can be involved with things to do with law and order sometimes as kind of a natural ruler of the 9th house. And I think that you might see some breaking of the law and order vibe. You know, Mars is rebelling. He's retrograde. He's going against script. You might see a return to some kind of, you know, like, I don't know, I would say like, not the impeachment thing all over again, but in the United States, but some kind of new legal action energy going on in the collective sphere in all countries, of course, where there is now more lawsuits happening, let's put it that way, and combative, you know, defendant plaintiff things happening in the news cycle, in the news for everyone. You know, when we had that Lebanon explosion, I think it was in early August, that is a classic Mars square Jupiter energy, right? Because Jupiter blows things up way bigger than they normally would be. Mars is fire. There was a little fire that started in the port that led to a massive explosion, which I heard was literally, whether it's true or not, the biggest explosion that's non-nuclear in recorded history. And Mars blowing up some big explosions. Mars rules fires, explosions, and accidents. That was all of the above, but squaring Jupiter, and Jupiter in his fall couldn't contain it, and it became a mega blast. Okay. So I'm hoping we don't have a mega blast or some kind of detonation or some kind of fiery upset around October 19th. It's possible. It's not necessarily likely, but wildfires and blazes are very Mars. And if we get everything under control, let's say in the burning fires of California, then by October 19th, there could be a resurgence, and it could have like something from the past, a fiery situation, wildfires reemerging and bigger and worse than before. All right, let's go ahead and look at the all signs. Now, before I do, if you know your ascendant sign, which is your rising sign, and if you don't, go to astro.com, it's free, plunk in your date of birth, but you need your time and place. And you'll see, you'll have something called the ascendant, ASC, or rising sign, and it's the sign on the eastern horizon of the birth chart, or if you're looking at the chart on the left-hand side as you're facing it. And that is your ascendant or rising sign. It is the horizon line at the time of birth in the tropical zodiac, not sidereal. It's a metaphorical or symbolic horizon line. And in sidereal or Vedic astrology, it is a literal horizon line. Like the line of the eastern horizon would line up with the star system or constellation X. Okay, that's what an ascendant is. So I want you to consider that first, but also sun and moon. And if you're born at night when the sun was below the horizon, and you know that, in other words, below the descendant ascendant axis, you might want to pay attention to your moon. And conversely, if you're born on the day when the sun was above the descendant ascendant axis, it was still daylight, you might want to pay attention more so to your sun sign. All right, let's get rolling. So I want to talk a little bit about Juno. I meant to bring that up. oops, Juno, the asteroid of partnership, business and marital. So she often is correspondent in her transits with divorces and alliances. Like we're moving in together or we're separating, we're divorcing or we're marrying. So she's the wife of Zeus, basically. And so she's right opposite this moon, okay? I mean, this Mars retrograde station today. And that will perfect. The opposition is off by 2 degrees. You know what? Let me show it to you guys. Let me just do that. This is just a 0 Aries chart, a cast for Montreal. There is Mars and there is Juno, and you can see they're right across from each other, and they're not quite there. Juno's at 26, Mars is at 28. Mars is going to go backwards towards Juno. Juno's going to move forwards to him, and on September 14th, around 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, they perfect the connection. That's going to mean something for each sign. It has something to do with a partnership or a business liaison, or, you know, a collaboration effort that is going to perfect, but also because Mars is going retrograde, maybe it's something from your past that comes up, like an old partnership, an old connection, an old business connection that's being re-engaged, and therefore may take precedence or a focalized attention between now and the duration of the retrograde till November the 14th. All right. So I'm going to bring that up in the all signs. And just as you might notice here, there's this big, beautiful triangle here right now between, as I do this recording today, a 17-degree sun trining Pluto in Capricorn. So that's a nice little Earth trine. So over the next couple of days, there is a sense of indomitable power, of your own power being flowing, and your own focus and your own discipline and your own will to get something done. That kind of Pluto energy over here, and stamina and stoicism. Saturn's right there to achieve something, to go for it. You know, more strong-willed, more attentive energy over the next couple of days is available to everybody. But also, you know, that sun is going to come into also this opposition to Neptune, and that's very intriguing as well. That could be an enlightenment episode, or that could be like a falling into a great spell or delusion. And, you know, Sun-Neptune contacts can be everything from, you know, addiction and escapism to fantastical experiences, to trance states, to enlightenment, you know. I think that's going to come into perfection on 11th or 12th or so of September. And I just wanted to say, you know, everyone's going to have a different experience of this, but for the collective, with so much conspiracy theory going on, and so much people are now calling the conspiracy theory, the QAnon thing, a cult, whether I'm not going to engage in political stuff, but it does have a quality of enlisting people and then radicalizing them and breaking families apart. And that could, Sun opposing Neptune this late, you know, Friday, Saturday, this weekend, to say Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, could be some exposure or blow up of that theme of the conspiracy theory stuff, or maybe the government will suddenly clamp down on it in the United States and like rule QAnon a threat to the public good or something. Don't know, but or maybe the QAnon movement will suddenly hit a new peak even. I'm just giving this as an example. There are many other ways this can play out, but I'm trying to look at the possible mundane interpretation of that. And especially if I look at the US chart, which if I'm using the Sibley chart, I think, yeah, I'm not going to go there right now. That's a whole other reading. I don't want to devolve into a US chart in my imagination and start talking about that. I'm almost doing it in my head. I shouldn't do that. Let me count the ways. Yeah, it could definitely involve political leadership as well, in which there's an exposure of something that was hidden, or some information that comes to light that reveals something about a political or public figure in the United States that could be upsetting or shocking or revealing or disillusioning to others. All right, just a possibility with that Sun opposing Neptune. Okay, so let's roll. Let's go into the all signs. So guys, I'm gonna get rid of that chart and go back to me. I don't know why. So here's the deal. I've got my little cheat sheet here so I don't forget the order of the signs. Yeah, such an astrologer. And we're gonna start with Aries. So Aries, you're gonna experience Mars retrograde in your first house, of course, because it's Aries Mars retrograde. So it's your natal first house of your body and your identity. Now that's a longer term thing that's been going on, right? Since June 27th until early January. So the idea and the shadow of that began around July 25th, where we begin to feel the vibe of that. So I'm not going to do a whole reading on that. Mars has been there for a while. If you go back, I'll put it in the description box below. I do have a video about Mars's journey through Aries, both for the collective and each of the signs. So I won't reiterate that, but I would say with that Juno contact coming out of your your seventh house, that some of you Aries, Sun, Moon, and mostly ascendants could have a reemergence of a relationship that is or was a marriage, or like a marriage, or an alliance or business partnership that was very solid and very meaningful, like a longer term connection, show up again from the past. So something old becoming pertinent and revealed anew again to you, especially in the next few days, as that, especially around the 14th, as that Juno-Mars opposition becomes perfect. Now, it is an opposition, so you may be like opposing or resisting this appearance of something from the seventh house, this potential partnership energy. So just look at how you're feeling inside about it. Why is it oppositional for you right now? But it is intriguing that some opportunity could show up here. Finally, Aries, if you guys are seeing clients, like if you work one-on-one with people like I do, this could be an old client coming back to you haven't seen in a while, and there's some really interesting developments that will come through around that. Okay, moving on to the Tauruses. I'm going to keep this really short and sweet for everybody. Taurus 12th house energy is where this whole thing's going on for 6 months, the Mars retrograde and the Mars direct, the whole Mars story. And so again, go back and listen to my video from a couple weeks back where I talk about Mars. I'll add a link to it below, doing it 6 months in the sign of Aries. But the thing I want to say is that for you Taurian, Sun, Moon, and Ascendants, this is a very inward energy. Mars is kind of playing on the inner fields. It's the place of your dreams at night, your inner meditations, your reveries, even your past lives, that are concurrently happening now. So you might be overlapping right now with a past life in which you died on a battlefield, and a lot of your life events will replay that theme right now. The 12th house, Mars could also make you want to go on a retreat, like I got to get out of here. I got to go on a spiritual journey somewhere, especially Mars retrograding. I got to go find a cave. I want to meditate. I got to find a spa where I can be alone. You might want to go inward, be spiritually contained, and find your solitude as a spiritual warrior or something like that during this retrograde, Taurus, Sun, Moon, and Ascendant. The Juno is coming energy, the partnership energy is coming out of your natal 6th house. Now, that is the house of your karmic debt. So you could engage a karmic relationship out of the blue, like a friendship or an alliance, it doesn't matter, or a business partnership that seems very fated and very destined, and you have a strong sense of connection to that entity, person, or whatever. However, the retrograde Mars connecting with that Juno in the 6th house could be a workplace opening. So if you still have a job and you go to work in the middle of this pandemic, you could get an offer to collaborate, to do something in the work, to partner up in the work, to co-share a position in the work or in the workplace, something very practical, something very literal like that. Definitely is your workplace. So I don't know how you define that workplace for you if you work at home, but you still have colleagues, right? So your colleagues in the workplace are in the 6th house. So you could even feel that some connection to a colleague in the workplace that has become dormant reignites and comes back to life in some way over the next few weeks, starting on Friday for sure as it perfects, but then all the way through to that retrograde closure mid-November. All right. Gemini, this is your 11th house, the house of good spirit, where the retrograde is occurring for 6 months. And this is not a bad thing for you. Not the retrograde, the Mars journey, but the retrograde for now until mid-November. So first of all, this is a good house. This is like a lucky house. This is a positive house. So it can't be all that bad to have Mars here for 6 months, Congratulations, Gemini, Sun, Moon, and Ascendants for the break here you're getting. It can mean you're going to, normally Mars going through your 11th could be very good for expanding your social networks and friendship groups and alliances and money from your career. However, now that he's going retrograde, and especially given that contact with Juno coming out of your 5th house of romance, inspiration, and children, you could fire up a romance from your workplace. You could fire up a romance from a friendship, a colleague, somebody who belongs to the same group or circle that you do, 11th house. And it could be an older attraction that reignites because, of course, this is a retrograde Mars because it can bring back something from the past. It could also look like for you guys that this activates a feeling of creative inspiration and suddenly you're all systems go, but you want to partner with someone in your creative, inspired fifth house energies. You're like, I'm on it. I'm so into this. I'm really down for it, but I want to work with so-and-so or team up with so-and-so or bring in so-and-so. Collaboration, partnership, Juno in your fifth house right now. And, you know, Juno's been there for a while. So, I mean, oh my goodness, I think she went into that part of your chart in July and leaves in mid-September. So you're kind of having to ride that. You're riding a longer term idea that you want to be collaborative with your creative projects, your independent business projects, very fifth house. And lo and behold, this Mars in its perfection on Friday, the 14th of September could bring a new partnership opportunity or an old one back to life. All right. Cancer, this is happening in your natal 10th house. And I don't think that you guys are going to totally appreciate the full brunt of the 6 months journey of your 10th house being fired up like big time by Aries, by Mars and Aries until perhaps like he gets into direct motion in November in the middle of the month. But it's been happening for a while. You've been feeling the vibe since the shadow period of July 25th and of that retrograde thing that's looming right now. And that retrograde that's just starting out today is a chance for you to go back, you Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Ascendants, and make sure you've got your ducks in a row. Make sure you know exactly how you want to fire up that contribution to the collective, God's plan for you, career, high noon, 10th house. It's how you show up in the world with the thing you want to do, you know? So like if I said like, I'm a dentist, that's an identity of a 10th house, you know? The thing I do is like dig into people's teeth. That's very 6th house. That's the mechanisms and the way I do it. But the quality of what I do, the naming of it is very 10th house. So for some of you Cancers, you're going to really start thinking about what is this thing I really want to be named by? What is my action in the world? Praxis. The 10th house is praxis, action in the world that really reflects who I am. So I would say for a lot of you guys, it's a time to take a deep breath and pause and say, whoo, what do I really want to do when I grow up? And Mars will help you see that and know that more clearly between now and mid-November, as well as bringing in a potential home-based partner, somebody, Juno, in the 4th house that lives in your hometown or close to your home or within your home, with whom you could collaborate, unite, and partner up your energies for your career. You may also have some conflict and tension if you're married between your desire to achieve your goals and really dig into what they are, and then Juno opposing it, and maybe you and your marriage partner don't get along during the retrograde period, and it would be a tension over your focus on your passionate purpose and whatever's going on domestically, maybe not meshing so well. Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Ascendants. All right, moving on. Leo, Sun, Moon, and Ascendant dudes. 8th house is where this 6-month duration of Mars is, and it's a house of sort of death, it's called. It's a bit of a dark night of the soul house. It can be a house, though, of financial prosperity and lucrative money that you don't have to like slave over, you know, inheritances and some windfalls, bank loans, stipends, grants, husband's money, spouse's money, wife's money. Because Mars has been there since June 27th and will be there until early January, and Mars cuts, severs, and ends things, very possible that this window of time for some of you, Leo, Sun, Moon, and Risings, will be the loss of a family member or loved one. And it could even be with a bequeathment or an inheritance that goes with that. Mars retrograde now through till mid-November, while opposing Juno in your 2nd house of revenue and earnings, has a couple of possibilities. I mean, Juno might want you to collaborate or partner up to make some money, but also you may be opposing or arguing with a business partner or a marriage or love partner about money issues and resources and possessions at the same time that Mars is trying to have you go back and really do an assessment, almost like an audit of your net worth, of your what things you have to lean on that aren't paycheck to paycheck? Is it time to liquidate some stocks? Is it time to negotiate a credit reduction? Is it time to pay off a bank loan? I mean, Mars will actually try to pare away and prune your financial situation and make it very simple and clean and clear and strong, you know, during his long journey through there. So some of you are going to be doing that whole cleanup. Uh-oh. Did I say, I do this a lot, guys. I apologize. I jumped to Virgo. I think I missed Leo. I have a blind spot for Leos. Oh my God. Okay. Everything I just said belongs, I'm not going to do this again, belongs to Virgo. All right. So Virgo. Okay, Leo, I'm going to do you now. And then maybe I'll just tell Virgo to go back in the timestamps. That's so weird. I see, sometimes I just glitch over the Leos and I don't know what that is. It's some kind of programming issue in my brain. Alrighty, I'm not going to stop and start over. I don't have the patience or to splice and cut this video. So let's go back and do Leo and then go ahead and touch lightly on Virgo again. Okay, so Leo, this is ninth house energy where the transit has been journeying through, Mars has been journeying through your ninth house of foreign lands and travel, soul, God, wisdom, truth. It's a house of moksha, I mean, not moksha, of dharma, your true calling, what you're here to do. It's also in the ninth house is also education, like campuses and universities and colleges and higher education settings. Or if you're learning something online, like my year-long apprenticeship in Hellenistic astrology with my teacher, Achuta Baba, used to be Adam Ellenboss, that it's like a certified, get a diploma, take a test, or get a certificate, that's very ninth house as well. So if you're going to do any kind of educational thing during this transit of Mars, it's going to go really well. So between June 27th and January, you're kind of got the dynamic will, the goal setting, the action taking energies to really fortify a direction around achieving some kind of certification or educational success. Now, Leo, Sun, Moon, and Ascendant, there's an opposition from Juno in the third house, and that could end up looking like competition or angry energy or discord from a spouse who says, why are you studying so hard? But it also can be a chance for alliances and partnerships with a sibling or somebody close to your neighborhood. Sometimes the third house can be like the environs around where your nest is. And it also is travel and trips. So maybe there could be a trip or short-term domestic travel that you take a journey during the retrograde period, and you end up finding a collaboration or a partnership energy that you want to use in your life, whether it's for your work or your love life. And if you partner up with somebody during this time and you're single, then this will be somebody who does not live, you know, right where you live. I mean, definitely it's the third house, ninth house axis where this is happening is foreign lands or other states or not quite next door. Okay. Not quite next door. You have to at least drive over to see somebody. You speak, write, and teach. You sell online products. You know, the whole online seminar, workshops, and stuff is very third house. If you have an online business, this is a time to maybe look at collaborations or get rid of collaborations. Mars retrograde opposing Juno, cut out of a collaboration that isn't working for you, or fortify and create a new one from someone you've already known, right? Because it's a retrograde. Go back to the past. It's not to start from scratch. Alrighty, moving on to the Virgo. Sorry, Virgo. I apologize because I already did you. So you have to go back to the timestamp behind me, but I'll say it again. It's all about the money, honey. So you Virgo risings, you Virgo sun and moon, the axis of money has been activated for the last few months since June 27th by the movement of Mars through this part of your 8th house. And there's a whole story here that could be anything from an inheritance because a beloved or family member passes to just that you're cleaning up your act, you know, reducing your credit, paying off your debt, getting lean and mean in the money machine, figuring out how to save, how to spend, how to budget, 8th house assets, investing in stocks wisely, cutting back on your investments, lean and mean pruning of the financial worth and value of your holdings, if you invest money, that kind of thing. If you own a house, sometimes the 8th house is money from selling that 4th house home. So this is a time for all of those things to kind of line all up for you. Virgo, sun, moon, and ascendants, you just might be cleaning up the financial piece of your life, the things you possess, the assets you hold. Juno in the second, again, second house is revenue and possessions and things you bring to you, basically for your survival needs and your food, shelter, and water and safety. Juno there is to partner up contractually or informally with somebody around those themes of your finances. Don't do it alone. And create greater wealth as a twosome or more. And maybe this opposition that kicks in on the 14th of September, and we'll be kind of informing the next few weeks, could be a potential alliance with somebody in the money-making area. An example would be an old employer calls you and says you want to come back to work, or an old friend who you used to collaborate with for financial gain comes back and says, let's get this thing on the road again. We'll see. It's something like that. Alrighty. Jumping way ahead now to Libra, which follows Virgo. Libra, this is a 7th house transit for 6 months of Mars. Go back and look at my other video for details, because it's all about your marriage or your relationships. Now, if you're not married or in a primary relationship, and Mars, the god of war, but also the masculine, and you're a female and you're hetero, it could be a new love story that's emerging for some of you Libra, Sun, Moon, and Ascendants. A powerful, passionate love story could be coming to you soon between June 27th and the beginning of January. Now, the retrograde period that begins today on the September 9th date and completes on the 14th could bring an old love back, an old romantic partnership back. And what you do with that is up to you. Now, it's interesting because, of course, Juno is in your first house, where she's been since, I think, July, because she retrograded there and doesn't leave until sort of mid-September. So there's a call for a new partner for you, Libra, Sun, and Moons. You're feeling it. You want it. Now, if you don't get a love partner, it is time to find a business partner. And if you have a business partner, and it doesn't have to be like the whole thing, like the LLC business partner, like say you have a podcast and you've been doing a podcast with one person for a couple of years, Mars retrograde opposing Juno in your first could be the end of that. You may eliminate, slice, dice, and cut away an old connection professionally, as well as clients that you don't like. 7th house. If you work one-on-one with people and you're like been like chagrined and biting at you're not trying to say anything, bite your tongue over a client or two that you really can't stand, it's time to let go. I think that'll happen in the next few weeks as the retrograde continues till mid-November. Moving on then to Scorpio rising, 6th house energy. Mars has been moving through your house of, first of all, sickness, not the bad place, the 6th house. I watched a show called The Good Place, and there's a good place and the bad place, and the bad place is the 6th house. Okay, so it's kind of where you can get sick. And that's why we also say it's the house of health protocols, because it's ways not to get sick. So it's all about your health as well. Mars is going through there in that health sector of your chart. If for a few months, 6 months, and it tells me that you have to be careful with your health. Now, Mars is the god of surgery, and if he's in dignity and he's direct, which he can be, right? He was until now, and he'll go direct again in mid-November to January. You can have effective surgery. Surgery will work well for you. The retrograde period, I probably wouldn't advise surgery unless you're born with Mars retrograde. But on the other hand, the retrograde period could mean going back to look at something surgical that needs to be corrected or done again, and really investigating, did they get that meniscus fixed, or do I have to have my knee done again, or something like that. If you're not looking at health, and also Mars likes athletics, moving the body, doing something, pumping iron, jogging, doing kung fu. And so you may find that you're called to better health protocols through movement, some new movement form that Mars can make you aware of. And if it's retrograde time, like now, it would be forms of exercise that you've done before, and you're bringing them back out of the dusty closet. Mars retrograde can also, since he's opposite in the 12th house, Juno, bring a connection from a past life to bear in your life story right now. And it may be a karmic debt story, because the 6th is the house of karmic debt as well. Because he's Mars, it could be romantic. It could be a love story, but a karmic love story. And because he's retrograde, It may not just be from a past life. It may be from this life, but you've been out of touch and now you're back in touch. And with that retrograde motion kicking in gear fully, Scorpio, Sun, Moon, and Ascendants, now until November 14th, you may resurrect a karmic love affair from a past life, and also from some other time in this life as well. Sagittarius, you guys are having this in the movement of Mars in your natal 5th house of children, romance, inspiration, projects, creativity. And if you don't want to have a baby and Mars has been barreling through there for 6 months, don't get pregnant, then be very careful. Mars is a ruler of accidents, including accidental pregnancy. Whether you're the guy or the girl, doesn't matter, still for you. So be careful. Mars being there June 27th through to January is a time where accidental pregnancy can happen. Of course, you need to be having sex for that to happen, but just be careful. Also, this is your children. And if you have children, then Mars is trying to support and fortify and embolden and give your children extra juju because he's in dignity in Aries. Now, he could also maybe get your children to move the heck out of the house because Mars rules movement. So maybe this is time somebody leaves the nest, which is actually not a bad thing. If someone did leave the nest since June 27th and Mars goes retrograde in the house of children, your denested child may come back home between now, September 9th and November 14th, and particularly if there's a kid who went off to college and COVID is going to continue to escalate, then maybe they come home again because the schools send the kids home. Now, Sagittarius, the Juno is coming energy, the goddess of partnership and marriage is coming out of your 11th house of good spirit. Typically, when she journeys there, she wants to initiate friendship partnerships. So if you're going to have a romantic thing take off, and it could happen with that axis so active, Mars in the 5th, Juno in the 11th, it will be a partnership friendship. So it would be like getting together with someone who's a friend and making it like friends with benefits. Or it could be that the friendship has now evolved into a romance. And when Mars is retrograding, you may go deeper into that connection. You guys may question it. Or typically a friend from the past who you were with before could come to your life again, and you could reignite and ignite that whole story all over again. Love story reignition, you know? Anything else? If you're an independent business-minded type, Mars going through your 5th, is the house of independent business enterprise, entrepreneurship kind of thing, speculation and risk-taking, is going to ignite you to do that too. And during the retrograde, you might actually be digging in and revising your plans or really thinking about how to go out and do your own business and stuff like that. Okay, so moving on. Capricorn. Sorry for my squeaky chair, guys. Capricorn, this is happening in your natal 4th house where Mars has been meandering and moving and all of that directly since June 27th. This is usually a move. You know, Mars likes to move, and he's going through your home, the anchor of the chart. Now, this is where mom and dad and ancestral line is, and depending on the type of astrology you use, it's the mom or the dad. But either one, there could be an issue with one of your parents. And Mars is god of surgery and cutting and severing. So there could be a falling out with a parent. There could be, you know, a parent needing surgery during the whole, July through to January. But the retrograde period, to me, I don't know, that could be going back and connecting with a parent that you haven't been in touch with. It could be traveling to see a parent. It could also just be a tear down of your real estate or a home, or breaking ground, you know, Mars breaking ground on something. It's very literal sometimes. You know, Mars is in the land holding of that chart, the land you stand on, the house you live in, your ancestral line, your family of origin. Oh yeah. So Mars is trying to do a lot of changes at the foundation of your chart between now and the end of beginning of January. So Capricorns, this is foundational energy, and Mars is activating your 10th house of career by being opposite to it. And you might have had a push-pull between all the stuff you want to do in the home base and how much you want to be in the real world. But on the 10th, but because Juno's in your 10th house and has been since July, there's a call for you to collaborate and partner up in your work, to find allies and alliances. Or if you're single, you might meet somebody in your work or workplace that you fall in love with passionately. All right. Moving on, 2 more signs. Aquarius, this is happening in your natal squeak, squeak chair, 3rd house. I'm an Aquarius rising. All you Aquarius, sun, moon, and ascendants. Okay, it's been interesting. You know, my car was totaled during this time between June 27th and now. It was parked on the side of the road near my house in a safe neighborhood in a good spot. And some kind of truck smashed into it, $14,000 worth of damage. Yeah, crazy. It was fixed. And so why did I bring that up? Because Mars rules accidents and moving vehicles, and the 3rd house, my 3rd house, all of Aquarius's, is moving vehicles, cars, trains, planes, and automobiles. And there you go. Mars direct smashed my car. I'm glad nobody was hurt. And it was just metal. And so there we have an example of what can happen. Now, it's short-term trips and travel. Mars is just about to go retrograde. I decided not to travel right now. I was going to leave in September to go visit my sister. Mars is in the house of siblings for us Aquarian risings and sun moons. I decided not to do that right now. I'm going to wait a bit. So postponement of travel during Mars retrograde. Uh-oh. Just a sec. I'm going to go grab the door. Pause my... Yes, I am back. Food delivery. All right. So the point of what I was getting at for the 3rd house activation of Mars is it's going to be all about teaching, writing, and speaking, the online world, seminars and workshops, long distance or short distance travel, as siblings. Those are the themes that Aquarius, sun, moon, and ascendants are dealing with. And Mars retrograde opposing Juno in the 9th house. Now, I mean, Juno is a love story. You know, she is the wife of Zeus. And so it could activate a love story, and it would be from a foreign land, like someone from another country or someone in an educational campus, learning center setting, could be emerging during the retrograde as a potential partner of destiny. And that's going to be more obvious to you maybe Friday onward because of the connection Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, where Juno and Mars are more directly in a perfect opposition, something synergistic there. Now, you know, there's an opposition, so it's not easy, you know, it's like not like, oh, yay, you know, like not like a trine. So it may be a difficult to get in touch with each other. And because it's a retrograde Mars, it's probably somebody you've already met. It's probably something you've already connected with somebody. There's already some kind of correspondence in COVID land, and now there's a reconnection going on. And what do you do with that? Well, you'll know more what to do with that if this is a romantic story for some of us Aquarians between now and November 14th, during that retrograde, as you investigate and go deeper into what is this really for, all right? Maybe it's for nothing, maybe it's for everything. Business partnerships from foreign lands, collaborations with people in foreign lands, especially around projects to do with courses, teaching, learning, could be very, very successful, especially if they're developed during the Mars retrograde cycle. Alrighty, moving at last to the Pisces of the world. Pisces sun, moon, and ascendant. This is happening for all of you guys in your natal 2nd house of revenue, earnings, money, possession, net worth, things. I mean, things that you bring to yourself, sort of like your possessions. You know, I own like a Ferrari, and I have, you know, a house that I own, and I have, or a condo. The resources and the possessions of your life is your self-possession, your self-worth as well. And in a lot of ways, it's also the voice and the larynx, and it's what you say and speak and what you put into your mouth. That often I've seen food issues, like people with anorexia, bulimia, or, you know, body issues with food, have problems in their 2nd house, right? I often say to a client, do you have an eating disorder, or have you ever struggled with an eating disorder? And I can see that in their natal 2nd house. And I bring that up because Mars is like paring, cutting, and pruning, eliminating things. And it's like 6 months in your house of things you can ingest through your mouth. So a lot of you Pisces, sun, moon, and ascendants are going to really assess, or be forced to assess, your food intake and what kinds of substances you both drink and eat. And probably it's going to change, right? As a longer term transit of 6 months in Aries, Mars will do that. He's got a surgery, and this is the throat. So you might need a little surgical procedure on the throat, but not cosmetic likely. It would be essential. So you Pisces, sun, moon, and ascendants as well are going to try to ramp up your money I mean, Mars is like, bro, fire, initiative, go for it. And there's an impulse for you all to make more money, to have more resources, to be more effective in meeting your basic needs. And so Mars is championing that for you in a way he hasn't done since 1988. So you may as well grab it, right? Now, the other thing about this transit is that there's Juno across the way, right? Like, and Juno's sitting up there and she's looking over at Mars from the 8th house, and she's wealth that doesn't require hustle, you know. She's like money making money, she's investments, she's in the house of inheritances. If you sold a property, a real estate, it's money you would get from that. It's capital gains, you know, grants and stipends. Sometimes it can be a lucky break financially too. But the idea of the 8th house money, Juno's there, and she's partnership. So and she's you know, the 8th house is your partner's money, your spouse's money, and Juno's the goddess of partnership. So there could be some kind of problem with your spouse's money because there's an opposition, or some kind of breakthrough with your spouse's money. And as Mars is going to station he is today, and then go retrograde as he bumps into Juno and then continue on his way, there's like a passage or a threshold around partnerships and alliances in money and resources that has to be figured out. And because Mars is going backwards, he's going to help you figure it out. He's going to go back and reassess, and he's reassessing things from the revenue stream, from the readily available money that comes to you from your efforts in life, whatever they are. So not to rely on one's savings, which, you know, can ostensibly be very 8th house. Yes, you possess them, but they're in a bank, and you might have them in like tax shelters and all of that. Oh, and by the way, yeah, you could get money coming back to you from a tax refund that you thought you'd never see, that pops in suddenly during the retrograde, and you're like, oh my God. Or they go back and they say, whoa, you paid too much in taxes, let's like refund you some money. Mars retrograde opposing Juno could bring in that like sweet little possibility as well. And even just him retrograding opposing the 8th house. The Juno piece might be more about your spouse's money in some way, and then your spouse gets a tax refund no one expected. I think that's it. Do we have anything else to say? I mean, there's sexual intimacy, deep psychology, and magic all exists in the 8th house, and Juno's there. For some of you single Pisces, Sun, Moon, and Ascendant, you could get quite entangled in a love affair that's very tantric or kinky or something, and that's activated by Juno, where she's been there since July in your 8th house. But now with this kickoff energy from Mars opposing Juno and coming into direct contact, someone from the past coming to the forefront for some really hot sex. All right, that's it. I'm out of here, guys. Please like and subscribe and share and comment and help my channel grow if you like it. I would appreciate it. I want to create a little intimate family here. Also, check out the Mars special below. There's 22 spots. There are 6 are gone. So there's 16 spots left. I fill it when it's filled, it's done. I'm not going to do more than that because it's so cheap at $65. But I just thought I'd celebrate this Mars journey by having that special. And it's been on for a while at $97. And the 22 spots are new. I filled up the old one just for the retrograde period at the $65 price point. So grab it while it's hot. I probably think it'll fill up in the next week or two. And I send the details to my big mailing list later this week. So if you're watching this video and it's before, let's say, September 12th or something like that, 11th, 12th, you're beating my mailing list to the punch. So you might want to grab it just from listening to me here. All right. Thanks, guys. Mwah. See you soon. Oh, next video, I want to dig into the coronavirus. I've been looking at asteroid transits, and I've just been meaning to get the whole thing together for you. Okay. So stay tuned for that.